Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, global friends, global viewers. Welcome back to my channel, Motivationalee. And remember, this channel has been created to inspire, motivate, and empower any one of you, whatever your circumstances. And one of the topics that's been suggested to me recently is all about owning your first home. And so I'm sure a lot of you right now who are listening or who are actually viewing right now or listening this podcast whilst you're driving, and keep safe, everyone. Um, some of you are already planning of buying your first home in the future. And maybe your friends, your relatives, your loved ones already doing that, but then they don't know when to start or where to start or how to start. And maybe somehow they knew something about this first home buyer informations from anyone, from your friends, but still not enough. But it's better to speak and listen to the right people, to an expert. And having said that, I would like you to meet a gentleman who's been in this business for a very long time. He's an account manager as well, in very different institution as well, knowing about these house and land packages. I would like you to meet him right now on this podcast, Motivationally First Home Buyer. What else you need to know? Please welcome, without further ado, John Hendricks. Hi, John. Can
Hey
you hear
Lee,
me,
how are
John?
you? Thanks for the. I can hear you
I'm
fine.
good. I'm good. Zayek, Zayek, did I say it right?
Is that it? Yep, is that it? Yep.
Zayek. That's good. How's it going, John? I know you're pretty busy since Monday, but thanks for this
Excellent.
time.
Yeah, no, excellent. Thank you. Very good. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're very most welcome. Very most welcome. Now, John, they can't wait to hear from you, from an expert. They would like to know you get better first before we can talk about those, tips about owning their own house, their dream house, a house that they can call their own. Let's get to know you better, John, about your brief background, please. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Look, married, 4 kids. My little one, he just had his 6th birthday today. We just celebrated a
Happy
big day.
birthday!
Kids everywhere. And I have two older girls who are married with their own children now, and another boy who is 13. And that's my background.
Nice.
And work-wise, I've
Yeah.
been in the property game longer than I would like to remember. It's been a long time, since the late
I
80s.
wasn't born yet. No, just kidding.
You're probably not born yet, no, but since the late 80s I started when I was really young,
Okay.
and I've been in property and other industries similar since then.
Good to know. Good to know. Right. Thanks for that, John. And I've got few questions prepared for you. Not, I didn't prepare it, but few people who knew this when I've actually advertised that you are coming and to join my podcast today about first home buyer. And one of the question is like, with your long years of experience, they would like to know, was there any sort of like interesting, inspiring that, like you have been part of those people's journey owning their first home? Let's have a bit of a light talk before we talk about some of the tips about owning a first home.
Yeah,
Can you
sure.
share
Look,
some interesting experiences? Thank you.
yeah, well, I mean, every experience is interesting because everyone's journey is different, and I've been very fortunate to play a part in many people's home journey, buying a home, and
Mhm.
predominantly it's always been in new homes and land. So, yeah, there've been some interesting characters, interesting people, but most of them, or I would say all of them, have been, very happy and enjoying their
I'm very
home
sure
for
of
the
that.
years that they've had it.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That's good. And thank you, that for sharing that as well. And it's really nice to hear from you, like for in this, you've been in this business for a long time, but you still remain humble as well, even though in the background you have helped other people transform their dreams into reality. Because of you, you have helped them found a way in owning a dream house, even though they feel like, oh, it might be impossible, things like that. But thank you, congratulations for that. Now, What do you think about this era? It's all about the pandemic, and few people were asking, John, we've got some savings, but then is it really a good time to own a house during pandemic?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. I think I've been quite surprised to see um, people out in force. In the property market has gone um, from a quiet time during 2020 to a crazy busy time in 2021. So
Oh wow.
yeah, look, property prices in Melbourne are still reasonable, even though
Hmm.
people think it's at an all-time high, which it is, but it's still affordable in the green suburbs, in the green fields. So we're talking about
Hmm.
the outer suburbs, are still affordable to buy a home there. It's not out of reach yet. So there's still a chance for people, Lee.
There you go. There you go, guys. There's still hope. There's still a chance. All you need to do is, you can contact John Hendricks as well, and later on we'll give them your details as well, like emails or any web page or website, whatever it is, later on. Okay. Now, another question here as well. What are your probably your top top tips about owning a first home? What do you think?
Yeah, okay. Well, sometimes I think people aim to try and get something that's not affordable or something that's out of reach. So a lot of the inner suburbs now are generally out of reach, but the outer suburbs are still within reach. So within reach, if you're a first home buyer, you might be looking at somewhere between, you know, 450,000 to maybe up to 650,000, maybe is your price range
John,
for a
would you mind
first
to
home
repeat that
buyer.
again? Because your line is actually breaking up on my part,
Oh, okay.
on my side.
Okay,
Yeah,
can you hear
if
me
you
now?
don't mind.
Okay. So the
I can
first
hear
home
you now.
buyers, okay. So a first home buyer is between 450,000 and 650,000. That's generally the price range for a first home buyer in the outer suburbs. And they're going to get,
450.
um, at the lower end, they're going to get, a smaller home, a smaller block on that lower 450, 500. But on the higher end, at 650, they're probably going to get a slightly larger block and a double-story home. A
Mm,
double-story home is more than you're going to afford closer to the city. And with deposit-wise, some people say, "Oh, I don't have enough deposit. I need 20%." You don't need 20% deposit to buy a home. You can buy a deposit. You can buy a home with a deposit less than 5%.
wow, good to
Less
know
than
that.
less than 5%. Yeah. So 5%
Possible.
is around the 25 grand mark. But entry level,
Mm,
you can do it even initially. You can even do it with a bit less, and you can save up the rest while the home is being built.
mm. That's good to know, John. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to add to that? Any other tips about first home buyer?
Yeah, yeah. I think just aim for something that is within your affordability, within your comfort level. So look at the repayments, speak to a broker. Um, get the repayments, work out what they are based on what your income is, if you can afford it.
Hmm.
It's repayments are generally the same as rent. If anything, rent is actually more than repayments now. So most people that can afford to pay the rent, they can afford to pay the mortgage. So that's a good tip. If I can pay the rent,
Mm,
I'll be able to pay the mortgage. Yes, there's a little bit extra costs involved, like rates, and there's some water rates and things like that, and some council rates and things that you have to pay. Um,
yeah.
but essentially, if they can afford the rent, then they try and save up the deposit, or if they can get a gift from some family members or something to come up with the deposit, or even like sometimes people can sell a car that they might have and maybe buy a cheaper one. We've had
Hmm.
people where they've owned $20,000, $30,000 cars and they've sold them and bought one
Hmm.
for 5,000 or something just for now. And that
Hmm.
helps them, help them get up to that 20, 25,000 as a starting point. So there's many tips. You could you can ask some family members to help you. You can, try and access some of your super if possible. You might be able to take a loan out from, some family members, or even a gift or something. There are lots of ways you can try and put money together
Yeah,
to
yeah.
try and come up with a deposit.
Hmm. You've mentioned, thank you for that, John. You've mentioned about the gift. What do you mean by, would you mind if you could expand? Someone's just asking, expand on that. What's that gift?
Yeah,
How does it
so
work?
so what happens is you might be able to go to your parents and say, look, I need to come up with 25,000. I've only got 15 at the moment. Can you gift me, as a first home buyer, can you gift me 10,000? And that brings them up to 25. And they may even
Hmm.
consider paying back that 10,000 in time to come, in years to come. They can repay their family or friends in small steps, over time, but at least they've got the deposit, and then they can put that deposit down on a new home once the loan has been pre-approved.
That's good. That's good to know. At least there are many
Yeah.
different ways that they can actually, save up some money. Could be a gift, and whatever you have mentioned a while ago, it's all possible. There are possibilities if you have a family member. What do you call this? Relatives. When you say relatives or maybe family members who can help you, is it like more on like if they own a house, they can actually use the equity of the house of their family member? Is that what you meant, John?
No,
Or apart from that, it's all about
wasn't
the
yeah,
money.
wasn't referring to that. That's another option as well. But sometimes
Mm-hmm.
parents don't like to do that because their whole property is tied up, and if something goes wrong, then their property is also in.
Mm.
They, some people can draw down on their mortgage. So if you've had a loan for some time and you've got some equity, you might be able to draw
Yeah,
down 10,000 or something to give to your
yeah,
family. That's a gift, and sometimes parents might say, look, you don't have to, you know, knowing how hard it is for young ones to get a loan, they might say, look, don't worry, you don't have to repay me back, which would be even better,
mm,
down the track, that they're not
mm,
under more pressure to try and pay their loan plus try and pay their family back as well. So there are a lot of options, and every time I sit with someone and they say, "Oh, we haven't got the money," but when they make a commitment to do it, it's amazing that when they finally make a commitment, it's amazing how they actually do find the money. They tighten the belt, they look at their cash flows, they look at their finances, and they say, okay, we're spending extra money here, we're spending extra money there, and they rearrange their finances to tighten the belt a bit, and they do end up saving up more, and it happens every single time. So it's only because
yeah,
people put their mind to it and all their energies and effort into doing it, and
mm,
once they know how, and they speak to someone like us, they know how, they go out and they put that into practice, and it works because it's a
mm, mm.
proven method over a long period of time.
Yeah, that's good to know. Coming from you as an expert and who's been in this business for a long, long time, older than my age, and you know all the other pathways. I'm still young. I'm still
Yeah,
18. Just kidding.
yeah,
There's so many
yeah,
pathways that they can go to.
yeah.
and you thank you that you have mentioned as well that it's not always 20, is it 20%? They can also get a home loan which is like under the
5%,
20%, like 3%.
five,
Yeah.
five,
Sorry,
5%,
5%, did you
5%.
say?
Yeah. Sometimes
5%,
it's
which is
as
good.
low as 3%. Sometimes banks will do
Mm.
3%. And sometimes governments will put up some initiatives. Recently, there was an initiative by the government where you put up 5% and they guarantee the other 15%. So the
Mm-hmm.
first home buyer doesn't pay the lender's mortgage insurance. So that's,
Mm-hmm.
that I think one of those programs could be still available right now.
Yeah. There's another question here, John, with regards to the government grant, right? This couple is just a bit confused about what if they have the savings already. They've got the maybe 5% or the 20%, either or. How does it play with the government's grant? Is it inclusive of that savings or on top of their savings with the grant, the
The, the,
government's
the
grant?
government the
How does it
government grant is on. it's on top of the savings. So it's $10,000 for a first-home buyer, and providing you're an owner-occupier and you're going to live in the property, you receive $10,000 government grant, and that's usually paid either at settlement when the property's settled, or in the case of a house and land package, a new home, it's paid when the slab goes down, when the builder puts the slab down, and it's $10,000. Now, in addition to that, there are some stamp duty initiatives and incentives as well. So from time to time, those stamp duty initiatives change, but I believe at the moment there was a 50% discount until 30 June, 50% off the stamp duty. That's just completed. That government has just had that initiative in place, and that's ended. But for a first-home buyer, owner-occupier, I think there's the stamp duty one is only applicable on the land, so it's already about half. And secondly is I believe it may be not payable at all. I just have to check that, but sometimes it's not payable at all if you're a first-home buyer, and the stamp duty.
Speaking of the
go on.
Yeah, carry on. Yes. Speaking of the stamp duty, John, there was a question here. Like, is there any bracket price that a buyer, a first home buyer, should not pay any stamp duty? Is there any cut off? 650,000. Okay, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You can buy up to 650. You don't need to pay stamp duty, which is really good, right? Good. Thank you for that, John. John, someone here says like he did not hear it well a while ago what we were saying, but he just wanted, because he's driving. Hopefully you're safe at the moment. He was just asking a favor if you could repeat again a clear picture, because this is going to be their first home in the future. They're still saving. A clear picture of, let's say, you've already been approved by the home loan, hypothetically, for example. What are the step-by-step plan of paying? Can they still save up money after, or let's say after the approval from the bank itself? What are the step-by-step paying of the process? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, sure. If it's a new home and it's a home and land package off the plan, okay, so if it's a new home, process is that they would put down a deposit on the house and land initially, and that sometimes can be as low as a few $1,000s, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 initially, and then within a short space of time they have to pay the balance of the 5% deposit. Okay, that's the very first thing that happens. So if the if the package is 600,000, so 5% is 30,000. Okay, so they might put down 3 or 4 initially, and then within a short space of time they put down the balance of the 30,000 if it's 600,000. Then there's no more money required until the land settlement. So from the time they put down their deposit until the land settles, depends on how long that is. Sometimes in the new estates league, that's up to 12 months. I've even seen it recently up to 18 months away, 18 months. So in that 12, 18 months, people have the option of saving more money, because no further money is required. There's no repayments or anything yet, because the home's not built yet. So it's a quiet waiting time till the land is completed. I don't know if that all makes sense. So you're basically waiting until the land is ready. When the land is ready, then you've already come up with the 5%. You've already paid it some 18 months ago, right? Now you might have saved another 10 or 20 by then. You see, the idea is you just have to keep saving, because you just don't know what's around the corner. So the process is you put down a deposit, you wait till the land settles. When the land settles, all your equity, all the deposit that you've agreed to put in, you must put all in by the land settlement. Okay? That's what the bank wants, all your money in first. So
Your
once you're
money, of
done,
course,
then the repayments start. The repayments start when the land settles, but it's not the whole of the loan repayment because the house is not built yet. It's only on the land proportion, which is usually
hmm
about around half of the loan. So if the loan is 2,500 a month, usually you'll be
hmm
required to pay 1,000 to 1,500 a month during the land settlement period while the house is being built.
hmm
So that
So
can be
staggered, yeah.
difficult for people. Yeah, that can be difficult, but that's why they keep saving because you put a bit more money aside because there will be that extra um, pressure of having to come up with a loan repayment on the land. So if you keep some
hmm
cash aside, then you're able to advance yourself with that money.
hmm Isn't it when it's actually starting to build? Because it's a separate contract, right? The land and the house package, right? It's a separate contract. So
It's a
if
separate
the
contract. Yeah.
house is being, yeah, separate contract. So if the house is being built, so from the slab and the skeleton, and I don't know how, what's the term? I'm not in that category. Okay, I'm in medical, but correct me if I'm wrong. So the slab, so that you pay, so staggered payment, right? But is the payment is coming from the bank loan, isn't it? So the developer or the builder, I mean, will issue an invoice, and then whatever is you've got from the bank that has been agreed upon for your loan, they're taking the money from there, right? For the staggered. Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
Yes. Yeah. That's the stages. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
hmm
it is two separate contracts for a house and land package, but they go together as one process, even though they're two
One loan.
separate entities, because usually the land
Yeah.
is separate owner from the builder, is a separate company, but they go together as
hmm
one project, if you like, to the bank. So they view it as one arrangement, and the home loan is staggered, which is called stages. So it's in stages, 5 stages for the construction. You've got first the slab, and then the frame, which is what you call the skeleton, the frame. Frame, that's okay.
It looks like
It's a
skeleton.
frame. It does look like skeleton. So it's the timber frame or the steel frame. The frame goes up. Then from there once the frame is up, they go to the lock-up stage. So they put the roof on and they put the windows in and the doors are in. So that's called the lock-up stage. So that's the house is well and truly up, and like it's very describable and it's very appearance shaped by this taking shape by this point because you've got roof on, walls
Mhm.
in, roof, yeah, I said roof, windows in, doors in. So then the next stage is they start to either do the outside, whether it's brick or cladding or combination of bricks or heat or different products that they're now
Mhm.
starting to use on the outside of the homes. Essentially, it's still mainly brick though. So they brick it, then they do the fixing inside. So that's the fixing is the plaster. Um, they hang all the plaster inside, and then they start putting in the architraves, the skirting boards, all the internal doors and things like that, the kitchens. They're starting to do the fixing,
Mhm.
and then the next sort of stages of getting close to completion by this point.
Exciting, isn't it? Exciting moment for the first home
Once the
buyer.
slab goes down, I think it's the most exciting part because
Yeah, they've
it's
started
been a
like,
block of land
yay.
for such a long time, and then you go down there and you see there's a slab down, and then when they deliver the timber for the frame and they start putting up the frame, it does get you realise how close you are now to getting your home,
I know.
finished. Yep,
Almost
yep,
a
it's
reality,
exciting.
a dream come true already, which is good. Thanks for
Yeah,
that,
from
John.
nothing. Yep,
Amazing.
no worries.
Very good way of explaining that. Now, a question from Maruni. Hi, Maruni. Thanks for watching. Now, he's just asking, which is more of the advantage, buying a house and land package or buy a established house? Letter A for established house is new house, like, it's been newly built already. or establishes kind of old house, which is more beneficial? A house and land package to build or already established, whether it's new, you're the first owner still, or an old house, which you're be maybe the second owner, third owner, whatever, but you're still gonna be a first home buyer anyways. You
It
can
really,
answer this one at a time. We'll listen.
yeah, okay. So that's an interesting question, and it's a good question actually. But what it really depends on one is where people want to live and what their budget is, because that determines, you know, that's a starting point. If you want to live in an inner suburb, for example, closer to the city, you're not going to be able to do a new home, house and land package unless you buy an old house and you drop it. But when you do that, you're
Mm,
talking a significant amount of money now, because most of the suburbs in Melbourne, there's really nothing under $1 million anymore. So, entry
I see.
level in some of the older areas is 700,000 or 800,000. So, and then if you have to drop it and build a new home, that could be another 300,000 or 400,000. So that ends up being $1 million. So most people, that's out of their price range. So buying, but you can
Mm,
buy an established home in the outer suburbs. You can buy, like in Pakenham or Cranbourne or Clyde or something, where you can buy in Mickleham or Greenvale or Wollert, in the northern suburbs, or in the western suburbs, you can buy in areas like Melton or Rockbank or Deanside or Fraser
mm,
Rise. There are
mm,
established homes there. So if you were looking in the outer suburbs and you said, what should I buy, an old home or a new home? Really depends whether you can afford to wait 12, 18 months. A lot of people can't, and they want it straight
mm,
away. So that's fair enough, because it's going to take at least a year to have a new home built either way. So that usually
mm.
the timing knocks people out, Lee, because they say, how long is it going
Yeah.
to take to build a new home? Oh, start to finish is 12 months, 18 months. No, I don't want to wait that long. So that's the end of
Yeah.
it. But if they're starting out and they don't have the deposit, then a new home, with the time element, may be the only answer, because it may
Mm,
it may be the only option. So they,
yeah.
continue renting and continue, working towards the home ownership. But to determine which one is better than the other is hard to say.
Mm,
You're generally going to get a bigger home than an old home. So when you buy one off the plan, it's usually going to be a bit bigger than what you would have otherwise bought an established home in the same area. Does that make sense?
mm.
Does that
That's
make
right. That's right.
sense? Yeah. So
Yes,
you
it does
might
make
get
sense.
a
Thank you for that.
three-bedroom home established with a single garage, but if you built a new home for the same price, you may end up with a four-bedroom home with a double garage. Yes, you have to wait a bit longer for it, but it ends up being bigger, and it's got bigger living areas, and it's brand new, and everything's new, all your carpet, tiles, and everything's
Yeah.
new. When
Yeah.
you move in, you're going to experience and enjoy all that sort of luxury of
Mm,
having everything new. Whereas with an old house, some people go in, they have to replace the carpet and the curtains and the kitchen and the bathroom and the blinds, and they enjoy doing that too. I know I've done it in the past, but
mm.
sometimes, again, it's nice to enjoy a brand new house, because everything is clean and new and fresh and
True.
bright, and it's just been painted, and it's the what you've
Yeah.
chosen too. It's the floor plan that you've had in mind, and how you've positioned
You
your kids
design
and
it.
your family and design. Yeah, you may have had a little bit of a hand in choosing which particular floor plan you like, or something like that. So that gives you. Whereas, as you know, when you buy an old home, you can't choose. You just have to accept it the way it is and make changes to it later.
True, true. Thanks for that, John. Having listening to you right now, it seems like with your question, Marini, which is better or more advantage or more beneficial? Is it the house and land package, or is it already a established new house or established old house? Probably you're right. It depends what you really want. It maybe it starts with how much you can afford. What's your affordability that you can, for the deposit, and which suburb you should be living. It all boils down to that. So it doesn't really matter if you've got a house and land package, you're building a house, or you've got an established house or an old house. It all depends on what you want. Of course, with the building, it's nice, as you have mentioned a while ago, John. You can see that, wow, this is the one that I have actually suggested, and it feels like, ooh, it's a dream come true. But with established house, a new house, you can't choose anymore because it's already established. And with the old house, same thing. It's already established. All you need to do is repaint or maybe knock it off. And speaking of knocking it off, there's a question here from Martha. Thanks, Martha, for watching. Martha is asking about knocking off houses. Is it an advantage? Because let's say, for example, I don't want to mention the suburb they want to move, but they found this affordable price range. It's a very old house, really, really old, and they want to knock it down. Is it better to do that? They haven't really. They're just thinking about it, John, because they've heard from other hearsays that it's good as well, so that you're in the right suburb, it's affordable, and knocking down is better. You can save more. Is that right? Would you mind if you could comment on that, John? Thanks, Martha, for the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, absolutely. Look, uh, I mean, ultimately, I think a lot of people would like to buy an old home and knock it down and build a new one because they get to stay in the area that they like. So it's
Mm-mm.
certainly highly desirable and advisable to do that. But you also, um, having been through the process once, sometimes I look back and I think sometimes it would be better to have stayed in the old house for a little bit longer to build up more.
Mm,
You pay down the land loan a bit more, and you just put up with what you have to put up with. It's if considering it's livable, you may have to do a little bit of a tidy cosmetic carpets or tiles or something like that, or kitchen or basic things
mm,
to it, just temporarily to get it to be livable. But yeah, try and stay in it for as long as you can, because then the land is appreciating in time. And then when you've built up
mm,
equity in it, it's very easy to go to the lender and say, look, I've been living there for a few years now, and I want to drop it, and it's
mm,
already got enough in value. I've paid down my mortgage a little bit, and the lender would
mm,
be happy to give you a chance to give you a loan to knock down and rebuild. But as you know now, knock down rebuild is like a huge thing because people are saying, well, if the alternative is I sell my house and I have to go and live much further out, and I don't want to do that, with the traffic in Melbourne. So people are
mm.
opting to stay in the suburbs and knock down. So I think it is in the future. I think it is going to be highly uh, desirable to do that for sure.
Mm. It sounds like it's also expensive because you have bought the established house and then you have to knock it down. And what happens to the loan about this? I'm curious about this. I'm not thinking about knocking down anything in the future, but I like any house that I want to buy, whatever. But in just for general information, how does the loan work on this? Is it going to be a double loan, or is it inclusive in the loan? What how does it work for knocking down houses, old houses?
What tends to happen is that the existing loan and the existing lender, they would say, let's say the value is 600,000 of the property
Mm-hmm.
existing, with the old house on it. So that you can't knock it down without getting the consent of the land first, because if you knock it down and you don't seek consent, you you could be in default of your loan. Although I'm not
Mm-hmm.
giving anybody any advice about any of that, but I was just in
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah, yeah.
From my understanding, they can speak to their lender, but they would need to first mention to them that this is what they had in mind. But what would happen was that they would produce a contract from the builder, and let's say the land was 600,000 and the contract was 300,000 to build, then the bank would say, "Oh, this is 900,000 now. 600 plus the three is 900." They may even value it at more than the cost to build. They may value it at 950, or a million. You see, and they would lend on the end value. So they'll say, okay, it's worth $1 million. We can lend you up to 700,000. So if their loan was 400,000, remember that, let's say that example we used was 600,000 on property, and the construction for a new home was going to be 300. So then the bank would say, okay, this is going to be worth 950 or $1 million, and then they say, oh, we can lend you up to say 700,000. Okay, so then the existing mortgage may be 400, so there's a gap there of 300,000. That makes sense. So that
Mm-hmm.
300,000 is effectively their construction. You see, so that's how it would work. So
I see.
they may not even need to put any cash in. The bank may say to them, well, you've got the equity, and because this is a new home and it's going to be worth this much, we'd be happy to lend you an additional 300 to build. And they end up with a nice property in the area that they wish to stay in.
Mm, that's good. Thank you for that, John. Makes sense. It does make sense, a lot of sense. Thank you so much for that. And I hope you guys are watching. If you can relate to that, if you want to buy an established old house and you want to knock it down, again, you can replay this and watch this again, this podcast interview with John Hendricks. Now, there's another question from Thuy. Thanks so much, Thuy, for watching. He's just asking, he says, like, if this question might be a bit silly, as a first home buyer, quite innocent with everything, so that's okay, Tui. Now, he's asking about, what if, hypothetically speaking, he found a good land package, because again, it's a separate contract, right? He found a good land package in the east, which is maybe within a 500 square meters, but then he wants a builder which is not connected to that what you call estate there. Is it possible to maybe get a different uh, builder coming from a different suburb? Let's just, for example, it's in the land is in the east.
Yeah. So that's a question that gets asked all the time, regularly,
Okay,
because a lot of
there you go,
people
Tui.
find land. Yeah, that's a very common request, and the simple answer to it is a couple of things. One, it depends on um, who owns the land and how that arrangement plays out with the builder. So sometimes the builder has what they call an exclusive hold on the property. So the landowner or the developer or the estate agents, usually they may have an arrangement with the builder. They say, okay, builder X will have 3 blocks, builder Y will have 3 blocks, builder C will have
Mhm.
3 blocks. So if you buy one of those packages, they won't sell you the land only without you building with builder X. And the reason for that is because they
Mhm.
may have certain styling of homes that they want on those properties, and those builders
Mhm.
have put their plans into the developer for pre-approval, and they've looked at them and
I
said, yeah, we're
see.
going to have different products here, so we're happy to have this builder and that builder and this builder and a mix of range of products. So they
Mhm.
may say, well, no, we won't allow it. But most of the time, if you go in and buy your own land from the developer, from the estate,
Mhm.
on the release, you can choose your own builder, and there's no restriction with that. But he has to
Mhm.
check it out. So the exclusive sales are minority to exclusive sales. They're only a small part of the volume. They may, look, just as a rough guess, they may only occupy maybe 30% or 20 or 30% of the overall sales. 70% of the sales are done from estates,
Mhm.
and you choose your own builder. So I hope that helps. But you do need to ask the builder and the developer, what the
Mhm.
requirements are and why do I have to build through you, and if it's an exclusive arrangement, or if the builder actually has a hold on the property, like he owns it or he's got a deposit on or something, then that's you can't. There's no way you can buy it and choose your own builder, because the builder is doing that in order to get work. You see, and that's so we
Mhm.
can't avoid that. But if he doesn't want to choose that builder, he would need to get his own land from the estate directly or privately, and then he's free to do whatever he wants with the builder.
Okay, cool. That's good. Now, John, there's a question here, but he doesn't want to. He doesn't want me to mention his name, but he's just asking, what if he has already maybe bought a land last year, for example. I just want to read it so I can give you the right question. So, okay, he's bought a land from last year, and then he realized that he doesn't like the suburb. Okay, and since they're still waiting, they're still saving and waiting for the what you call that, the settlement. Remember, you've mentioned that whilst the settlement might take 6 months, 12 months,
12
whatever
months,
it is,
8.
whilst
Yep,
waiting, you
yep,
can still save, right?
yep,
So they're saving,
yep,
which is good. Now, what if they've realized that the suburb is not for them? They found a good suburb wherein it's more beneficial for them and for the family, especially with schools as well. Can they, since the settlement is not yet it's not yet happening, or it hasn't happened yet, can they actually sell that land? Not, is that the word, right word, sell, or pass on that contract to others safely,
yeah,
legally, so that they can then choose another suburb for them to purchase the land and
yeah.
get
Okay.
the house and land package for building. I hope I made
Yeah,
sense there.
sure. Well,
I try to
this
interpret.
this is a very good question as well. It happens quite regularly. People do initially have one idea, but in 12 months' time, things change, or more children come along, or you know, sometimes someone loses their job, or anything can happen. They just simply change their
Mm,
mind. They don't want to live out there anymore, and that does occur. Uh, Firstly, I have to say I can't give any legal advice. Obviously, I'm not a solicitor,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
can't. I'm not in a position to give any advice at all. But what I can say from my own experiences is that the very first thing they need to do is read the land contract document and get their conveyancer or solicitor to read it. There will be very specific conditions in the land contract about what they can and can't do if they wish to sell it or nominate the contract. Right now,
Hmm.
some developers are very hardball on this topic because they don't want people buying and selling the land only. They want homes being built. And the
That's
reason
true.
they do that is because they've got tracts and tracts of land and they don't want people competing with them selling their own blocks. So they might have 20 stages and they don't want people, reselling the land without the homes being built because all the land's going to be all empty without homes on it. So they're encouraging people to build. So that's why and they don't want people speculating on their land and making money just on top of the developers, estate. So there
Hmm.
are some legitimate, genuine reasons why developers will put clauses in there to prevent people from reselling the property. That's why you need to read the contract, get some advice. Number one. Number
That's
two
right.
is that if you are genuinely changing your mind and you've got a genuine reason, as it sounds like this viewer
Hmm.
has, then he would probably it's his right, from what I understand, to nominate the contract. No one can stop him from nominating. Okay, but if the
Mm.
value has gone up, how does he nominate it? You know, and he wants to make some money out of it. So that's the tricky part because you can't
Mm.
nominate it and take a higher fee because if you do, there's stamp duty payable. So there's all sorts of complications there. So the first step, read it, take it to conveyancer, ask the question, look, I don't want to go ahead with this anymore, or I want to sell it, or I want to nominate it, I want to resell. What are my requirements within the document? Will it allow me to do that? Developers are generally okay. If you write to them and say, look, I don't want to go ahead anymore. I've found a buyer or I've nominated it to someone else. Most of the time, they'll let you do that.
Mm. That's good. That's good to know, John. Thanks for giving us a a bit of a nuggets about that as well. And of course, as you have mentioned, you're not in the position to speak to this, but then with your experience as well, you can also share what you have seen before as well. So that's really good. Thanks, John. Now, few more questions, John. Someone is asking, Anonymous, anonymous here is just asking, John, in purchasing your first home, what are the things that we need to know? You've mentioned about, he said, you mentioned about a stamp duty. What else? These are terminologies, John. I think that was he's asking. So you need, hello, happy birthday.
That's a birthday boy.
Happy birthday. We're almost done. Don't
Who's happy
worry.
birthday? It's okay,
We
don't
need
worry. He's
daddy
had
now.
me all day. It's okay. No, no, it's fine.
I know. But thank you, John. But yeah, going back to from the anonymous viewer here says that I think for me, what he's asking is about terminologies, John. You know, when they're first home buyer, they need to know all these little terminologies for them to understand. You've mentioned about as a first home buyer, there's about the stamp duty. You mentioned about conveyancer. What are these, John? Solicitor, you said you mentioned about this. They just want to know some of the terminologies, John, needed for the first home buyer.
Yeah, okay. So um, the lawyer is a professional person or a professional body where they have experience in um, giving advice and being able to direct people and guide people in terms of what they can and can't do from one, what the document says, and two, what the experience is and what the law is. The conveyancing, from what I understand, is just my own personal sort of um, viewpoint, but it's not a professional viewpoint, it's just my personal one. So the conveyancer tends to handle the conveyancing work, as in the transfer and the adjustments and all of the checking and the getting of certificates and things like that. So most of them are very well equipped as well to be able to
Mm.
understand the process and the documents and give advice, because they do it every day for a living. So that they
Yeah.
would be very well equipped to be able to give advice on a lot of those topics the conveyancer about. Can I resell it? Can I do this? What is my stamp duty? What's going to happen if I do this? I would be quite confident in um, saying that, yeah, many of the conveyancers are all over it, as they say.
Yeah.
So I don't, yeah, I
It
don't,
seems
they'd
like,
be all over it. They'd be all over it. Yeah, I don't think
yeah.
there would be a concern for that. And most conveyancers are supported by a legal person at the back end anyway. They have a legal person either within their office or accessible within their team, that if there's something that they can't answer
Mm.
or it's above their experience, they can go to the lawyer and say, hey, we've got a situation here. What should we do? So I think either way, they would
Yeah.
be okay.
They're very experienced anyways, and with conveyancer, for me and my own opinion as well, John, like they're like our frontliners, right? Like they're the ones checking all the documents before settling the land and even
Yeah,
the building of the house. They communicate with the companies, like both the separate land and the house, the home package as well, which is really good because a lot of the buyers are not really, sort of like well versed when it comes to those numbers and whatever equipment that they anything that they what the conveyancer can do. That's why they're there, for a reason. That's good.
yeah,
Now, John, there's a question
yes.
here because
Hmm.
our my guest for next week can also answer this anyways, but in your own opinion, because you've been in this business, house and land business for a very long time, as I've mentioned, for those who are late right now,
Keep reminding
John
me.
has been in the business for like John has been in this business for like more than my
A long
age,
time.
a long time ago, long,
No,
long,
not
long
that
time.
long.
Now,
You're only
which,
18
which
anyway. You're only 18.
I'm 18 years old, so it's
So
like 19 years
you're
of
only
experience. It's
18.
more than
So
that,
yeah,
guys.
so
More than
19.
that. John has been working for a long, long time, literally. No, John. Someone is asking here. I don't want to mention her name, but what is better? Because there's so many hearsays that this couple has been hearing from other people, right? It's better to go, and they're confused. Is it better to go to the bank straight away for a home loan, or either establish old or new or building, or go to a broker? Which one It's better because they're quite
Yeah.
confused right now.
So
There's so many hearsay.
yeah. So to answer that question again, I just have to start off with the premise that I can't give any financial advice
Yeah.
or any advice in relation to which one is better, the bank or the broker. I can't. So I can just speak on a personal level of my own experience and what other
Mm-hmm.
people have
Yeah.
said to me and dealing with them over the long period of time. So um, some people have said when they go to a bank, if they just go to one lender, for example, that particular lender may have a certain policy and procedures that doesn't suit the um, person who's applying. Okay, they might say, I don't know, they might say you need to earn 100,000 a year. I don't know. This is just an example, right? So
Yeah.
they go there and they're only earning 90, which is still a good income, but it's not enough to qualify for that lender. So they get disheartened and they feel that they can't buy the home and they just forget about it. When they go to a broker, again, speaking from what people have said, the broker has a
Hmm.
lot of different lenders on their panel because they deal like a lolly shop. They've got 10 different types of
Yes.
products for
So
this
many
one,
choices.
10 different products. So they can say, well, look, yeah, lender A, lender B, lender C won't allow you to get the loan, but I have lender D who is is got a slightly different method of calculating, I don't know, deposit or income or whatever, or they've got a different policy or whatever, right? And they're prepared to entertain you. So the broker having more options would be able to give you a few more options, whereas sometimes. But on the other hand, people have said, yeah, but I've always banked with this bank and they know me. If that's the case, then they're going to favour you because you've banked with them, your pay goes in there, um, they know your family. When I say they know your family, they don't know them personally, but you know, you,
Yeah.
you've been banking with them and so on. So sometimes that is a huge plus. But again, it's not any
Yeah.
advice or anything to anyone. It's just a
Yeah.
personal viewpoint that people can talk to both and they can decide themselves which one is best for them.
Yeah, that's good, John. That's good to know. Because, as I've mentioned a while ago, you've been in this business for a very long time. So you've got lots of feedback from different clients that you had since day one, and you have that idea. And speaking of that, a financial advisor slash broker will be here next week for my podcast too, talking about best to invest in 2021. So maybe I can also ask him about this. If you're watching, Stephen, thank you so much for dropping by. Hello, Stephen. Now, John, I know you want to spend time with your family. It's been a all day birthday celebration for your son. Before you go, I would like to ask you, where can they reach you? Because John, you're an expert in whatever house and land package, whether it's old or new, newly built or building. John, please, I would like you to tell them where they can reach you. I've got your email address as well. Is that the same email address?
Yeah, that's my personal
They
one.
can reach
I'm
you
happy
there
for
as
them
well.
to
Email John.
reach me
He
on
will
my personal
reply
one. Yep,
anytime.
yep. They can email me. That's the personal one. And I'm
That's good.
currently working for a company that owns. It runs and owns a company called House and Land World. And House and Land World, as the name suggests, we do everything house and land. So we do outer suburbs, house and land. We do inner suburbs, house and land. We also do knockdown rebuilds. So anything house and land, anything related to anything new, they can contact
Hmm.
me and I can, talk to them outside, this interview and can give them some advice one on one to, help them and direct them. And even if they don't come to us and they go somewhere else, that's okay as well. I'm happy just to help them out or lead them in the direction or, whatever contacts they need. If I've got them, I'm happy to help them.
That's good to know, John. Again, johnehendricks@gmail.com. And I will also maybe add on a bio as well if there are any other contact website or web page that John has, I will certainly write it down very soon as well. And John, appreciate your time. And, I'm sure our global viewers, and especially those who are, who would like to move to Melbourne, and you want to do, you want to build a house here, you want to invest a house here, whatever it is, whether it's old, new, or building a house, don't hesitate to contact John Hendricks. And if you're going to be watching this as a replay, please write your comment below, and I will surely reply to your comments as well, and I will pass it on to John as well as soon as possible. Otherwise, you can also email him on johnehendricks@gmail.com. Now, John, sit back and relax there as well. So I just want to thank everyone who has the time. Some of you are like so busy right now, just like John as well, because of the celebration of his son's birthday. But I would like to I'm so grateful that you've come and watched this and even the replay as well. And I hope you can share this podcast to all your friends, your loved ones, relatives, family who are still wanting and wishing to find a house that they can call their own. Even if it is pandemic, guys, John said it is still possible. And he mentioned earlier on that it's not always 20% of a of discount of a deposit. It could be you'll be lucky, can have a 5% deposit, or maybe more, much luckier, you can give a 3% discount. All you need to do is reach out to John Hendricks, and he can help you. He's been in this business for a very long time as well. And so, guys, I hope you don't lose hope right now. All the information that you need and most of the questions that you've asked me as well, I have already asked John about it. And please replay this again. Once again, to each one of you, stay happy, stay motivated, and create an impact. And always remember, a goal without a plan will always stay as a dream. So be an action taker. All right, reach out to John immediately or comment down below. Have a good day, John. Have a good day, everyone. Take
Thank
care
you,
and
thank you,
stay
viewers.
safe. This is
All the
Lovely
best.
Lee on
Blessings. Thank
Motivation.
you. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
John. See you again next time
Bye.
for another podcast here, only here on Motivationally. See you again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye.